Hi friends! We're going to start off by cleaning off our brows and making sure there's no moisturizer or oils on our skin so that this glue can really stick to the hairs. When you apply the glue, you want to rub it back and forth to make sure you're getting glue on both the front and the underneath of the hair. Then I take a brush and rub it in just to make sure we're fully coating the hairs. And then you'll see I flip the brush over and I use the handle to really press the hairs into the skin and get them to lay super flat. You want to make sure you're brushing them upwards so that they lay flat more in the direction of your forehead versus how your brows would normally lay down. If you brush them in a normal direction, they're not going to lay as flat to the skin. I do 2 layers of glue. One might be okay for you. And then I blow dry in between layers just to make sure it's super dry. And then if you do add more glue, make sure you slick the hairs back up every time. The more flat these hairs are to your skin, the easier it'll be to apply foundation and concealer later on. Always blow dry to set them in between each round, and this is what they should look like. Go ahead and apply a full coverage concealer over the brows, and we're going to let that sit while we apply the rest of our foundation. To give the concealer more time to dry, I usually work from the bottom half of my face up, and then I'll blend the concealer and foundation like last second. We're going to start our contour process. You want to make sure for this look that everything is cool toned. Don't get a bronzer, don't get anything that's warm brown. We want a really cool toned brown. Think more along the lines of gray than brown. Alright, here I'm just contouring in the hollows of my cheeks and I'm just blending it out. If you find that your contour is too low, you can always do this next step. I'm just dipping my brush into some powder and I'm cutting into the contour to make sure it stays right in the hollow area of my cheek. Even if your placement is correct, I would still suggest doing this step. It just kind of makes the contour a little more neat. And while we're here, use that excess powder in your brush to just blend the contour out. You don't want any harsh lines. Next step is we're going to contour our forehead a little bit. I just keep the contour right near the hairline just to add a little more color back into our face. And I'm using that same shade that I just used to contour my cheeks with. Now grabbing a smaller brush, we're going to contour our nose. The only place you're going to contour is the bottom of the nose and then up the sides of the nose leading into the beginning of the eyebrow. And I'm using that same shade for all of this. You can see better on this side. It goes straight up the side of the nose and into the front of the eyebrow. And the last place we're going to contour is right under our bottom lip. Keep this light and you want it to be right against the bottom lip. This just gives it a shadow effect and that creates more of a pouty lip look, like that. Grabbing an even smaller brush, we're going to use that same shade of gray and we're going to put it right under our eye, kind of like to make eye bags basically. Once you create that darkness around the eye, I basically just draw a circle with it and I bring it up into the crease of my eyelid. Doing the same thing on the other side with that same color we've been using this whole time. Just adding some darkness under the eye and then bringing it up into the crease of my eyelid. Once you have the shape laid down, I just grab a fluffy brush and just blend everything out. There should be no harsh lines in this look. I know we're working around the eyes, but try to think less eyeshadow and more that we're creating like a really ghastly, like haunted look around the eyes. So starting at the front of the eyebrow where the nose contour and the brow meets, I'm just drawing a little shadow going up. Tim Burton does this with a lot of characters in his movies. He also does it with Emily from The Nightmare Before Christmas. It just gives the eyes more of a teardrop, like sad effect. We're now going to connect that line we just made to the outer corner of our eye. Once you do that, you can blend it in with the circular shape that we made earlier in the crease of our eye. At this point, everything but the eyelid itself should have eyeshadow on it. So you can see I made that line going up, and now I'm filling in this space, and on like a downward slope shape, I'm connecting it to the outer corner of my eye. And just make sure you're using a fluffy brush. Like I said earlier, we don't want any harsh lines. You can go in with a smaller brush for details if you want. Here I'm just using this brush to make sure everything above the eyebrow is blended together. Using a smaller brush is also a better option to make sure we have that slope shape going down. Now we're finally adding a different color into our face. I'm using a more lavender color for blush. Applying that to the apples of my cheeks and more to the side of the face going up into the temple area. Since lavender is a lighter shade of purple, you want to make sure it'll still be visible from the box, so add a little bit extra blush than you normally would. Alright, now we're going in with a super dark shade of gray. We're going to add this in right where the nose and the brow bone meets in that little hollow space, and this is just going to add more depth to the look. I also drag it out into the crease of my eyelid too. And bring it a little bit up above the eyebrow and connect it to that line we made up there earlier. Doing the same thing on the other side, starting out in that hollow space. Go ahead and drag it out into the crease. And then filling in just above the eyebrow. Here's what we have so far. Alright, going in with a white liner pencil, we're going to use the white on our waterline. This is going to open up the eyes a little more and give it that big sad eye effect. Make sure it's a pencil and not liquid liner. Liquid liner is dangerous to put that close to your eye, and it also won't hold up as long. Now we're going to conceal our lips. Trust the process, they're not going to stay this way. Rub that in and then dry it down with some powder. You're now going to take a lipstick. Yours would be black. I just didn't have black lipstick, so I had to make mine with lipstick and black eyeshadow. We're only going to apply lipstick in the Cupid's bow area of the top lip, so don't bring it all the way out to the corners of the mouth. Fill only that section of the lip in, drawing the lipstick straight down. And go ahead and dab that in. We're going to go back in with our powder, and I'm filling in powder from the corners of my mouth to the center. You want to make sure this lipstick stays right in the middle of the lips. Now we have lashes. So for me, the best way to make sure my lashes stay a super long time is I apply my lash glue on my eyelid like eyeliner first. While I let that dry down and get tacky, I apply it to the lash band. Let the glue on both the lash band and the eyelid dry until it's sticky, and then when you place it on, it should feel really secure. If they don't stick to each other immediately, take it off and let it dry down some more. The glue should not feel wet when you apply the lash on. We're going to do the same thing with the other eye. Apply glue to the eyelid. Apply glue to the lash band and put them on. You can play around with them and push them more onto your eyelid. Just make sure you're really gentle when you do this. So here you can kind of see my regular eyelash and my fake eyelash. You want to make sure you press your regular lashes into the fake lash to marry the two together. I'm only adding mascara to the top lash, not the bottom. You want to keep the bottom lash nice and open to give that big eye effect. And here's how your makeup should look by this point. So I recorded the next few steps on camera, but I would look back at it and the whole thing is blurry. So this is me reenacting the next steps. I'm just putting highlight all along the bridge of the nose to give it a more elongated effect. I put highlight on my forehead, over my top lip, on my chin, and on my cheekbones. For the scar, we're gonna start by laying down a peachy reddish shade. It's basically gonna look like your skin is like cut or irritated. And then I don't own any, but your director has some really cool fake scarring liquid that you're gonna put on directly over this color we're laying down. So here I'm adding concealer to give the scar effect. You will not be doing this. You, in place of this, will be adding that special effect scarring liquid. When it comes to these fake scars, the more the merrier. This is Edward Scissorhands we're trying to recreate. And here is your final look. Have a good show.